Hello, everybody. We're back with another Room Rumble. Welcome back. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you want more of these, and let's get into it. So, this is where I dropped into a room for a debate after show. I did not see the debate. Full disclosure, did not see a word of it. Had no idea it was going on, but I saw people talking about the debate over on Aidan Linden's channel. I linked that in the description and probably in the title as well. But dropped in to sort of the stuff that they were saying was interesting. So, Aiden did a great job, first off. Moderating that room was a tough time, and he did a great job doing so under a lot of pressure and a lot of wildness going on. Most of that wildness was coming from Dustin, who just lost the plot on multiple occasions. And look, I don't want anyone to hassle him. I don't want anyone to, sort of laugh at him or anything. It's just, I wish I could help him not lose his temper and have actually a meaningful conversation. But when we drill down to it, it seems to be sort of, I'm an atheist, I can't tell him anything, he's not going to listen to me. And I think he doesn't listen to me, but I think that's just because I'm an atheist, which is a sort of weird thing to have. I kind of feel for the guy, though. I know what it's like to sort of lose your crap, and I never feel good afterwards, so I kind of have a lot of empathy for that. But there are a few other characters in there. Look, Peter was in there. Him and Dustin fight all the time. Look, I love Peter. I think he's fantastic. He does interrupt. He does know it. He's working on it. He's gotten a lot better. But, he does sort of trigger some Christians, and he's fine with that. And that's cool. And I've got no problem with him. I think at one point I kind of told him to shut up. But, I've really got no problem with Peter whatsoever. So I don't think that's the case. There was also a Orthodox priest in there, Eastern Orthodox, and the Eastern Orthodox people I usually meet are awful. They're argumentative, they're childish, they're just really horrible people. But he was really nice, and he was really approachable. We had a really interesting conversation when we could fit it in between all of the yelling and screaming. No, it was a really good conversation, and a few of the points he sort of covered were interesting. I think at one point I brought the Byzantine Empire, and it's important to go through, just if you don't know about it, the Byzantine Empire is the sort of continuation of the Eastern Roman Empire when Rome broke up into East and West, and the leader of that empire was also the religious head. So if you're unaware, that is sort of a empire that was led by both the religious authority and the sort of secular authority at the same time, being the same person. I really brought that up because he was sort of saying, hey, our church is right because it still follows the traditions of the early church. And my point was that, well, slavery is a tradition of the early church in the Byzantine Empire, which is where the Constantine gave that Greek Orthodox its authority from. So, this is sort of brought up later. But, it was a great conversation. We talked about a lot of different things and whether, what kinds of slavery there, whether there still is slavery in prisons and things. It was a really good conversation that was sort of sidetracked by a lot of people just losing their... Look, at one point I became frustrated and lost my temper, but, I think just having a conversation and allowing people to disagree with you without sort of yelling at them is really what I'm after. But like I said, I don't want you to go after anybody. I don't want to, you to look down upon people. Please be kind to them and see if we can't sort of encourage an air of respect among these things. But thank you so much, everybody, and let's get ready to rumble.
And there was a necessary it was necessary for God to explain how we should act when we're already in slavery. And I don't think that we should have slaves. I think that mystically speaking, we can kind of like see slavery being used in a spiritual sense, but we shouldn't have slaves. And unfortunately, in the world, which I would argue has gone kind of more godless, we have more slavery than we've ever had in history. That's like Amnesty International says that, but it's mostly human sex trafficking.
I disagree with the idea that we have more slavery than ever before. I think that we can tangibly show, although perhaps the world population has skyrocketed, since the times where slavery was a common institution, the proportion of the population that are slaves is undeniably far lower in the modern context compared to, say, the 19th century. So, but welcome to the show, by the way, Mark. Hope you're doing well.
Oh, yeah, I'm not
Hi,
sure
Mark.
if I'm going to calm things down or make it worse.
Only time will tell, my friend.
Mark, hold on. That's my part of the deal. If you're here,
Okay.
you're the calm one. I'm the agitated one. That's always been the case.
That is true. That is true.
See?
I'm the yin to your yang. Yes.
You're the good cop.
You
Mark.
can't just step into my shoes.
It-
They're not big enough for you.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. My feet just aren't. You're right.
Mark, are you
Good to
also
see
an
you,
atheist?
mate.
Are you an atheist as well?
I am. Yes. Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
He's a fake
Yeah.
theist.
Do you have anything you'd like to say on the topic,
Yes,
Mark?
okay. Yeah, I didn't see the debate, so I can't really comment on that. I think that I'm not sure if I'd agree with Daniel's idea that the rules in the Bible are governing spiritual matters, because it appears to be leveraged and directed towards real events, and sort of property rights, how you treat the people who are enslaved or indentured servitude towards you, and different treatments based upon the category of person it is, whether they are an Israelite or whether they are a foreigner, whether they're male or female. So I would like to really, I'm really intrigued how that sort of is a spiritual prescription rather than a physical one in the real world. Or, I'm not sure what that would mean.
So how we would look at it spiritually now is like to be obedient, like being a disciple and being obedient, like to your spiritual father, if you're a monk, to whoever who is above you, to be accountable and to obey Christ and kind of be like his slave. Because there's like levels to the love where it begins with fear of God. And that's when we're kind of like slaves. And then eventually it grows into a love where we become actually friends of God. And we want to do these things. But in the beginning, we just kind of obey because we're so sinful. Like it actually feels like a struggle for us to do good. But eventually, with the grace of God, we actually want to do good. So it's like a progression. But in human nature, because like there was a time when we needed a tutor, like the old covenant law and all that, we needed like laws that were written in stone to like guide us because we were just like so bad, to bring us at least a little bit closer to prepare us for eventually what Christ was going to bring us.
Would you agree that? Oh, sorry, I've totally. Would you agree that it doesn't make a distinction in the Bible? It doesn't explicitly say that this is a spiritual designation, and rather the law of the Old Testament just applies to the physical world, to actual event.
Yeah, I think it applied in an actual way at the time, because there was probably some people that were treating slaves very badly, and at least the Bible was like saying treat your slaves well, and get them baptized too, like all that stuff. It's like if they're a part of your household, because this even extended, of course, to the Roman times a little bit. It's only later that we're trying to get rid of slavery. And, you can see a lot of Christians that were at the forefront about abolitionism.
Yes. I certainly wouldn't push back on that. Absolutely. But I think I would really push back on the idea that they were told to treat slaves well, at least well from our perspective, our modern perspective.
I beat them after death.
Correct. So if like I've talked to sort of scholars who have studied the ancient Levant, and the instructions in the Bible are better than some places in that area at the time, granted, but they're also worse than some places in that time. I believe that the slaves in Rome could at least win their freedom even if they're a foreigner, but a slave in the Israelite or the Canaanite sort of nations, if they're a foreigner, they were a slave for life. So there are some better things than the surrounding area, but there's definitely things that are worse.
Yeah, and the concept that they're inheritable property as well, the concept that they're supposed to be bequeathed to other people's children, and that they're meant to be bond servants forever, implies that it's not necessarily the same kind of relationship that you see in other aspects of the Bible. Because I agree, it's not a black and white system where every single time you see the term maid or servant or bond servant that they always mean the same thing. However, it's undeniable that there are several passages in the Bible where they are explicitly referring to people as property, and even passages like I mentioned in the debate tonight where God explicitly provides human beings to other human beings as reward during conquest, that alongside all of the cattle and sheep and oxen and gold and silver, you get to take a woman home for you as well. And
I'm confused.
Also,
which came first? Was slavery or religion?
What was that? Sorry,
also, bond.
Slavery.
Which came first? Slavery. Okay, so if it's in the Bible, is it more a reflection of history and maybe a prescription of what should be done in the future?
According to scholars, it was a reflection to society, yes.
But it's supposed to be God's word.
Yeah,
and God's word should reflect reality.
I think the Gentiles, seeing that they might have even gotten a little bit more just in the way that they did things, was more of an indictment against the Jewish people that denied the Messiah. And once, we became more engodded with the Holy Spirit, you saw a lot of people, doing everything they could to free everybody, really.
But there were slave owners that used the Bible to defend owning slavery. And
I would use a rake. I would use a rake if I had nothing else to defend my home. What difference does that make?
They used especially the words from Jesus about slavery to defend slavery.
Everybody's got to everybody just chill out for a second. I'm going to have to start moderating if we just keep all over talking each other, okay? So I'm going to have to start pulling out the mute hammer. I really don't want to do that, but let's try and moderate this ourselves before I have to moderate for everyone, okay?
I'm very interested in Dustin's comment. Like, what do you mean by they would use a rake to defend themselves? I don't understand that.
What I'm saying is that you can use anything in the form of a defense. You can use anything in the form of a weapon. The use of something has nothing to do with the nature of the thing. If I killed you with a rake, it doesn't make the rake's nature any different for what it's used for in any other case. But it's still possible to kill you with it.
So how does that connect to slavery exactly?
No, it was that was a retort to somebody saying that they were using the Bible to defend slavery.
That was me.
Oh, yeah, I was retorting his dumbass assertion.
I think I can steel man Dustin's point here, because what he's saying is that you can pretty much use everything if you would want to defend something. The point that I was alluding to is that Jesus specifically endorses slavery in the New Testament, and that part was used.
Jesus endorsed slavery when he told Adam and Eve.
I wasn't finished. I let you speak. Let me speak. So that part specifically was used by the slave owners in the U.S. and in my country to defend slavery, because Jesus is specific that it's okay and slaves need to obey their masters, even if they are Christian slaves and the masters are also Christians.
Can I let you in on a little secret, Peter?
Sure.
Can I let you in on a little secret? When God commanded Adam and Eve not to eat of the fruit, and when they disobeyed and were punished, is that not the relation of a slave and a master? When was God ever against slavery? He commands, we obey. He commands, we obey. If we don't, we get punished. In what way is that any different from a master and a slave relationship? Please do not strawman my argument. Do not change the subject. Do not move the goalpost. Simply refute that argument.
I'll address that argument. So the example that you now give, Adam and Eve and God is different, because the moment that God told Adam and Eve not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they did not know right from wrong. So when they did eat from it, they didn't know they were doing anything wrong. They only realized that after they
Since when
ate
is
from
slavery
the fruit.
predicated on the slave knowing the difference between right and wrong? Since when does that have anything to do with anything?
It has nothing to do with it. This is why your example
So it
fails
was a dumbass
as an
refusion.
example.
No, it's dumbass
Let him
refusion.
finish, Dustin. Let him. What he's saying is
That
truly
is-
dumb, then let him be dumb.
That is why your argument here fails, because Adam and Eve were not slaves of God. They were never meant to be. They never were. They were his creation. So I don't know why you're bringing this up, because Adam and Eve had nothing to do with slavery. Not even after they ate from the fruit.
You're not listening. Slavery,
I am.
right? When it's broken down into its purest form, his master gives order and slaves obey. If disobedient, punishment is administered, which is exactly
your mic
to a
is
T.
breaking up.
Yeah,
What
I'm
happened?
breaking up.
No, hold on. That is not what slavery is.
It was
Slavery
exactly
No.
what happened.
No, that is not slavery.
No.
Slavery is owning people. It's not about orders, because there are other relationships where people give orders. The slavery.
Adam and
If you
Eve
have
were
a
God's
job- If
creation.
you have a job,
Adam and Eve were
your
God's
boss gives
creation.
you
Then they owned
orders.
them outright.
That doesn't make you a slave
Adam and
of
Eve
your
was
boss.
God's creation. God owned them outright. In what fashion? If I make something, in what fashion do I not own it? If I make something out
Dustin.
of nothing, in what fashion do I
Dustin.
not own?
I'm not.
Dustin, I'm a little confused. Maybe you can clear something up for me, because I don't understand. And okay, I'll just grant that the creation sort of relationship between God and humans. I really don't think that has anything to do with whether or not humans should be able to own another human. I think that is like, even if it is true.
And I got a scripture
That's completely.
that actually
That's
talks about this.
That's aside and irrelevant from my argument. My argument is that God has always condoned slavery because he is the master of his creation. God commands, the creation obeys. That is the relation between a master and a servant. There is no getting around it. You can fuzzy la-di-da, milly-mouth your way around it all you want, but the fact of the matter still remains. When God commands, the creation obeys. That is a master and a slave.
Okay.
Period.
So
I have to commend Dustin, because he's the first Christian.
Peter, one second. Are you
Okay.
endorsing slavery? Am I getting that right? You're sort of saying because this relationship exists, then you're endorsing slavery?
No, I'm endorsing. Well, I don't know, maybe to a certain extent, but not man owning man, but God owning man.
Okay,
Yeah,
so then my first point stands. Then what does grant all that, hey, God's the creation and we're his slaves. It still doesn't address the central point of the idea of man owning man biblical.
Right.
Yeah,
You're saying
I don't think it is.
Commend Dustin.
No,
Hey, let Big Bad Mama talk. He's no.
I do want
Peter.
to. I was trying to get it in before Big Bad Mama spoke.
Peter.
One sentence. I do want to commend Justin, because he's the first Christian I've ever come across who says that the Bible actually condones and endorses slavery.
Okay.
That's honestly.
Dustin, your analogy of God being the slave owner, it doesn't follow through, because you're saying that by man owning slaves, that the creation is owning the creation. It doesn't apply.
Yes, I actually am saying that, but that's irrelevant to my point.
It is.
Okay, I got something here from Galatians 3:18. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there is neither male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. If you are Christ, then you are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. So
And that's
from Paul.
obviously Paul. Yes,
Yeah,
but
that's
Paul
Paul.
also says in, I think it's
That settles the
Colossians,
trans argument.
slaves obey your masters. Right. So
It
whether or
does.
not
Yeah, I know.
it does, sure.
Yeah.
But so I think that there becomes a problem where I think he's speaking metaphorically there, like we're all equal in the eyes of God.
Yeah,
But
that's
he's
what
obviously not saying that, hey, there's no male and female, right? When men and women don't exist. That's not what Paul's saying
exactly.
there.
Yeah, he means this in a spiritual sense.
think
We all become one in Christ. Yeah.
Sure, but I think what he goes on later. So there's a big difference between saying slavery is wrong and be a good slave master, right? So
Mark, it's worse than that because
let me finish,
actually...
Peter. You're doing it again. Let me finish. So there's a big difference because if you're saying, hey, be a good slave master and treat this person as if he is one of you, is still condoning slavery, in my opinion.
Yes.
Okay, but I would just argue that sometimes it's a fact of history. Like we never know what the history tomorrow brings. Like right now, we don't have a lot of slavery in the classic sense. We have much human trafficking. Again, Amnesty International would say we have more slavery today than ever before. But like we could go back to that kind of system.
And pick somebody up for $250.
Let him finish. This is interesting. Let him finish.
Yeah, like ISIS, for example, they make Christian slaves, and it's like, what do you do in that situation? And God gives us words of encouragement even during the darkest times.
Well, I think that's interesting, and I think that and I get what you mean. There's less sort of antebellum slavery. There's definitely more wage slavery, for instance. Like we would categorize indentured servitude as slavery, as a form of slavery. But you're probably right that there's less antebellum slavery. But I think that when you sort of say, "Hey, be obedient to your masters," you're basically saying accept slavery as your position in that society.
Right. There's another way to interpret that, though, Mark.
But we don't want to start revolts. We are obedient to the government. Unless they're telling us to do something like worship an idol, and then we won't do that. But otherwise, we're supposed to obey our masters, whatever they may be, and do it unto God, and use it as an opportunity to get closer to God.
Well, this was one of the things that was brought up. Just real quick, Mark.
Sure.
This was one of the things that was brought up during the debate with re-examination. The idea that a person ought obey their government and their form of ruling authority, because Romans 13 is the one that's often cited when it comes to that. This idea that they ought do that unless they're forced to sin in doing something. Well, I would say being forced to accept the state of affairs that was slavery as it existed in early Christian societies, in the kingdom of Aksum or modern Ethiopia, in the Roman Empire, in the kingdom of Armenia, and all these early adopters of Christianity, there's not one exception for the fact that they all still use the institution of slavery. And
can I add to that, Aiden?
Go ahead.
Because obeying the government is literally in the Bible, because God has placed that government into place. That's why you need to obey it.
Right, but
for the exact same reason, God could have outlawed slavery, and he didn't. Nowhere in the Bible did he do that.
I would say, though, just to finish my point, the point that was made by re-examination was obviously during the persecutions of Diocletian, it probably wouldn't be good for you as a Christian to renounce your God and sacrifice a bull to the emperor and say that the emperor is divine, because that's committing a really horrible sin, was his reasoning for why you ought not do that, while still obeying every other purview of your government. But I would say that allowing slavery to continue to exist and not pushing for abolition is just as much of a distortion of God's commandments, because it's a distortion of the second commandment, which is love thy neighbor as you love thyself. And I'm pretty sure loving thy neighbor does not include enslaving them. So,
well, that's true.
Well-
That's a good point.
Well,
that's what
but
the
loving-
abolitionists would
Well,
say. You know, is that
Actually-
loving your neighbor means like not to have slaves, but like it just happened to be a historical reality that we're told what to do in that situation. But as
no.
Christians got into power, we started taking that away.
Actually, I got to jump in there because the translation of that word neighbor, it's not sort of very well translated into English because you think of neighbor as everybody around you. It really meant your fellow Israelite. So love thy neighbor didn't really apply to, say, the Amalekites, right? Like
Who is my neighbor?
Who is your neighbor?
This is from the Bible.
Mr.
Who's my neighbor?
Rogers. It's Mr.
No,
Rogers.
no,
Okay,
it's from the
Mr.
Bible,
Rogers,
guys.
okay.
No, it's
Yeah,
from. So who is my neighbor? That's something that was asked. Remember when Jesus said to them, "Who's my neighbor? Is it the Samaritan or was it the Jew that passed him by?" Because remember, there was a person like dead on the side of the road, almost half dead, and like the Levites would pass by, and Jesus said, "Who is my neighbor?" He answered by the Samaritan, who was a foreigner. He wanted to use that for a specific reason, to let them know that by neighbor he does not mean only Israelites.
Okay. Well,
that's
I'm
a
just
different verse.
I'm just
that's a different verse in a different language.
Word. Correct.
Yeah,
it
that's
is
a different verse
language.
in a different language.
But
what
the
Mark
Bible
says is
clearly-
different.
okay, hold on.
Peter, can I speak for myself? Like, seriously, my guy. But what I'm
Sorry.
trying to say is that it says, love thy neighbor, but you may take the slaves from the nations around you. And there's a very clear distinction in that verse of what neighbor means and what the nations around you are. There's a very clear distinction. So it isn't like all I'm pushing back on is that it's contradictory to say, hey, love thy neighbor and take the slaves from the nations around you. There's nothing contradictory there.
All right. Who the hell changed my name to Out and Proud?
That is so funny.
Who was it? Aiden?
Let Mark is in the
Much
middle of
love,
saying
Josh.
something, Josh. Just wait. Mark is in the middle of saying something.
No,
Come
I'm
on.
fine. I'm just saying there's
Hey,
no
can I-
contradiction there. It's not contradictory.
He wants to change
that on
subject.
one
He's out and proud.
So I have a question for Daniel. When
Yeah.
the New Testament, it says to follow every jot and tittle of the old law. How do you interpret that in relation to slavery mentions, say, in Exodus, the different elements of slavery that it codifies, basically?
Well, Jesus was a servant obedient unto death, even the death on the cross. So he fulfilled all the law for us.
That's
So
not
those
what the
laws,
verse
so we
says,
don't
though.
have, so those laws
He
don't
was a suffering
apply-
servant.
Okay.
So yeah, he.
No, that's not what the verse says. The verse says you need to obey every jot and tittle of the law until earth and heaven are gone. Last I checked, earth was still here.
That doesn't.
Because I just
doesn't
walked
sound
over
like
from the other
slavery or
cabin to
anything.
this one.
Well, he fulfilled the law in what it actually means. There's.
Yes, and Paul changed that. That's a well-known fact. Paul changed Jesus's words. Jesus said, "Keep the laws." Everyone needs to keep the laws, and Paul changed that. Jesus never changed that.
Well,
just to interrupt slightly, can I just
Sure.
get a quick definition of what you mean by fulfilled, Daniel? Because to me that
So
means
I'm just going to interrupt
you-
politely because when I say politely, it's okay to interrupt, right?
I love you, Josh.
Hey, Josh.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, go ahead, Mark. He'll behave.
I asked.
Come on,
I
Josh.
asked,
Let him get his thoughts out.
How are you defining fulfilled here?
Okay, so I believe that Christ fulfilled the law for us, because we wouldn't be able to. He's the only sinless person. So
He asked what you mean by fulfilled.
Right, the definition of
You
fulfilled
just
that you're
repeated
using.
it, but
Peter,
what does
let him
fulfilled mean?
finish. Let him finish. He might still have something to say.
yeah, so he didn't break any of the laws at all. He didn't break any of the slavery laws that you're talking about either. So
So to fulfill the law, in other words, means to provide a way to heaven.
So it doesn't mean end the laws.
So
no, it doesn't mean end the laws. The law is fulfilled. It was obeyed. And the sacrificial lamb took the sin upon themselves, as the law predicted, as the law dictates, as the law is now fulfilled.
You're confirming our point.
So to be grafted onto Christ means that we like he has done all that for us, and he was the perfect man on earth. Like he was the new Adam that obeyed.
He was the sacrificial lamb that covered our sins, allowing us back into God's presence.
Yeah, I got all of that. But fulfilled usually in a normative English sense usually means, to uphold something or to carry out something, right? You fulfill your purpose, you carry out your purpose, you fulfill the wishes of your partner, you fulfill your biggest dream, right? It means to carry it out, to accomplish it, basically.
To fulfill your legal obligations like Jesus did?
Yeah, pretty much.
Sure.
Like he didn't break anything.
So when you say he fulfilled the law, it seems to contradict with, hey, he upheld and carried out the law. When
it means he didn't break it.
Well, what else would fulfill mean to you?
Wait,
what
hold on.
Well, I just said.
Let Mark finish.
Let Mark finish.
Okay, go ahead, Mark. It's obviously
and then Josh, you get to talk next because you have barely said anything.
Okay, well, I gave you my definition of fill. It means to carry out. So when you say I fulfilled the law, it meant that you carried out the law, not changed it.
Yeah, he carried it out. So he lived a sinless life. He never broke the law, and we get grafted to him and become heirs to the kingdom.
Right. So if a slave did disobey him, he would have been fine with, sort of whipping them.
I mean, he put to death Adam and Eve, who was meant to live forever.
Okay.
Nope.
He put to death every living thing on the planet. What do you mean he wouldn't be not okay with, except for shut up, Peter. I'm saying something. He put every living thing except for Noah and his family to death on the planet. You think he's got some compulsion about a slave getting whipped? Really, Mark?
Half of the stream is just different people going, "Shut the fuck up, Peter."
Yeah, it happens. It happens a lot. But Adam and Eve weren't supposed to live forever, which is why God prevented them from getting back.
Shut the fuck up, Peter! It's irrelevant, and they were originally meant to live forever. Can you let Mark reply to my question? Can you let Mark? Can you let Mark? Can you let Mark? Can you let Mark reply to my fucking question, Peter? No, I don't care what you have to say. I was talking to Mark.
Aiden, can you
talking
moderate?
to you, Peter.
Okay, yeah. All right, guys.
Aiden?
Guys.
So I wanted to
I'm pretty
finish
sure
this
it was my
point.
turn. I don't
Adam
know
and Eve
It was
were
Josh.
not supposed to live.
Yeah, it was Josh's
Josh
turn. Yeah. Josh, go for it.
Okay.
I just
sorry,
want to
Peter,
know
but it was Josh's
what's.
turn.
I just want to know what side Daniel's on, because it sounds like you're siding with the atheists.
No, I'm not siding.
Both Daniel and Dustin are siding with the atheists at this point.
No, I'm not saying that God condones slavery. I'm saying that it's a historic reality. He was telling us what to do if you're in that situation, and that as we get closer to God, and when Christians started taking over governments and stuff, and we had power, we took away slavery.
What is the antithesis of? Go ahead, Josh.
I was just gonna ask a rhetorical question. Aren't the Orthodox essentially just atheists, like undercover?
That's such a troll question. No, we're not at all. We love Jesus Christ.
It is a bit.
Josh, just to throw it out there. Did you see the recent debate that Amarià did? With two Christians who claimed that Eastern Orthodoxy was the only Christianity. Everyone else was not a Christian.
Well,
that would make you an atheist.
I'd love to host a chat between you, Josh, and one of the Eastern Orthodox guys. I'd just love to see
the
that.
Ortho Bros, you mean? So
I don't know those guys. I know they have terrible points.
Spend a lot of time.
Do you really think God would have an issue with someone getting whipped? The same God that killed almost every living thing on the planet? You really think he would have compulsion over that?
Well, actually, Dustin, brother. Hold on, Dustin. To be fair, Mark, let me answer this. When Moses saw that being whipped, he had to step in and stop it. So, I mean, it does sound like there's an issue with people being whipped. Go ahead.
When Moses saw who whipped?
His fellow Jews.
Yeah, he's talking about the anecdote where he kills one of the slave drivers for.
And what about
literal? It wasn't an anecdote.
But there's free will, and God, he knows what everything's going to happen, but he doesn't make the choices for us. So he knew that there was going to be slavery because of our free will, and so there's rules for it.
I get it. So Moses was against whipping the slaves.
People.
God is.
Okay.
Jesus himself whipped people.
Because of the fall.
I think the question was directed to me, so I really want to answer the question. Hang on a second, mate. I've got to step in because our question was directed towards me. I had no opportunity to answer it. Look, if I believed in a God and the character of the God was the same as the one in the Old Testament, mostly the Old Testament, I would have no problem believing that a God would kill and destroy everybody. That he was cruel, vengeful, jealous, etc., 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 right? I wouldn't have a problem with that, but I don't believe that God exists. So it is definitely within the character, but that doesn't exactly endear it to anybody when you sort of say, well, he's got no problem with whipping human beings because they've disobeyed another human being. I don't, and it's very strange.
I'm so glad you just defended Christianity.
Well, it's very strange that sort of, you have all of these immoral things that are happening at the time. Like, there's a lot of murder, a lot of war going on, a lot of unjust, grape and things like that going on. And he makes prescriptions against them, or at least, against doing them. But slavery is the one that he can't seem to create a rule about.
No, well, see, God has spent an enormous amount.
Let's let Dustin speak.
God has spent an enormous amount of his time trying to tell mankind, you should not rule yourselves in many different ways, in many different languages. Almost every single one of his stories are relax, fear not, and trust in me. For the narrative, the story, and the end belong to me. Vengeance is fine, saith Mark Reed's Bible. Let's hear about his story time hour.
I mean, but what you're saying right now about how we should
What's that, Alice?
I'm not quite sure myself. But what you said about being subservient to other powers, like it's said directly in Romans 13:1-7. It says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. Now, one of the things that I brought up during the debate was this idea that, oh, well, you have to obey these governments and what they say unless they're talking about X, Y, and Z. I think it's just kind of arbitrary because that doesn't say it anywhere in the Bible. It doesn't say in that passage, well, you can obey them on most things, but you can ignore them in this regard and this regard and also this regard. That's not there.
Well, traditionally, the saints that got martyred for the church, they definitely went against the government when they said that they had to worship idols. So it's like there are certain things that we would go against, but you have to pick your battles. And our battle is you can only worship God. That's our red line in the sand. But for a lot of things, God is a God of order. He's not a God of chaos. He doesn't like rebellion.
And yet it was established in the early ecumenical councils that people that were persecuted under people like Diocletian, if they did proclaim a false confession and say, oh, well, I'm not Christian anymore, I'm pagan, I don't believe in Jesus anymore, there was a prescription made in the church that said that those people are able to be rebaptized and that they're able to be brought back into the church. So
Tertullian disagreed. That's why he sided with the Montanus. The
Right.
Muslims had the
Who cares
female
what Tortilla said?
prophetesses.
But ultimately,
Tertullian, he was the first guy to talk about the Trinity and the first guy to do the sign of
Well,
cross as well.
I think I know what Dustin was trying to say. I think I know what Dustin was trying to say. Dustin, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, until Christ returns and rules over us, no man will ever compare. So in the meantime, render to Caesar what is Caesar's.
Amen.
Dustin, was I close or?
You're dead on. You're dead on. From our perspective, you're dead on. There's some technical aspects I'm trying to get these people to acknowledge, but you're dead on.
It sounds to me like Dustin is trying to equate Jesus with the Old Testament God, and he's missing the actual things.
It's the same person. Daniel, you got to
let Big Bad Mama talk. Let them talk. Like we let you guys talk, please.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like you were just giving the qualities of Yahweh to Jesus, and those were his entire qualities, as opposed to qualities that he had in the New Testament, which are markedly different from what's in the Old Testament.
Believe it's the same God. I believe it's the same God. I'll repeat that as many times as you want me to, Big Bad Mama. I believe it's the same God.
Okay.
It just changed.
Yeah, you'd have to point out the distinction, because in the Old Testament, people are condemned. In the New Testament, people are condemned. In the Old Testament, there's grace. In the New Testament, there's grace. God is merciful in the Old Testament as well as the New Testament. So I don't know where you're getting this idea that it's a different God.
How many cities does God sack in the New Testament? Like,
how
many? No, seriously.
He's going to destroy the whole world.
He didn't come to sack the world. He didn't come to forsake it. He came to save it.
That's not true at all. He said,
that's not true at all.
He said, "I come not to bring peace, but a sword." That's what Jesus said.
That's his second coming.
In Revelation, he destroys the earth by fire.
And also, he makes a proclamation about the future destruction of Jerusalem during the Olivet Discourse, in which he says, "Verily I say unto you, not one of these stones that you see before you shall be left standing atop the other." So it's not like he just came to save everybody if Jerusalem got sacked to the ground in 70 AD. So,
well, you just answered your own question. What city was sacked while Jesus was here?
It wasn't him that did that, though. You see, that's why I make the distinction, because
for the love of God.
Well, hey, no, listen. Jesus of Nazareth wasn't actually physically alive in 70
Jerusalem.
Holy
in
fucking shit! God damn it, you guys.
So can I respond to Big Bad Mama? So I think that the Bible, especially the Old Testament, is like a story of an exile from the fall, and that we're coming back to God, and we are able to see God more and more the more we interact with his energies, which is his love. But this is something that develops in us because of our response to God. And
tell me you don't play with crystals.
That gets fulfilled in Christ, the God man who reconciled man to God. But that explains why, the Old Testament God seems different in character, is because God condescends to humanity, and he's inexpressible. He's ineffable. He's unapproachable on some level. That's his essence.
Inexplainable.
And we can only actually interact with God through his energies, which is his love. Uncreated energies.
I would say that it's not God that condescends to man, but rather God that expects man to act as though they are him. Isn't that the entire concept of theosis? Is the idea that you ought make yourself more like God? You ought make yourself more in keeping with the character of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
So the entire idea isn't that God is going to lower himself down to our standard. He views himself as
he did already.
But when I say lower himself down to our standard, I mean lower himself down to an estate where he is just like us, even in the person of
he did.
But he did.
Absolutely did. But he absolutely did.
Because
he didn't act like a human and be sinful.
Oh, exactly. He acted like a human should act. You're not helping your case.
You say acted like a human being should act, but if
absolutely.
By should you mean the normative of how human beings ought act? Well, it's God that set the normative quality for mankind when he decided that each and every single person born after Adam and Eve would inherently be born with sin and damnation.
No, they gave that there was a law for that. and then Jesus came to fulfill the law. I mean, I don't know how many times we're gonna have to go over this. You already know what the point is and what my rebuttal is going to be. I don't understand why you brought up this point.
You're born in sickness.
Doesn't make any sense.
Can I ask Daniel a question?
Yes, please.
Sure. Yeah, because what I'm trying to say is that like we were born sick because of the fall, right? Because our parents are sick, we're born sick. God is actively healing us, and through history, you can see us responding more and more to that. But go ahead.
Yeah. So you this is one thing that I can rebut as well. I have to look up the verse, but you just said about Jesus bringing his love. Are you familiar with Luke 14:26?
Not offhand. I'm not very good with chapter and verse stuff. I probably
if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother, his wife and his children, his brethren and his sisters, yea, his own life, he cannot be my disciple.
Yeah,
that doesn't sound.
Peter, you don't understand
someone that doesn't sound.
Language.
That
like
doesn't.
Says,
that doesn't.
I'm so hungry,
that doesn't sound. That doesn't sound. That doesn't sound like someone who is proposing love.
If he's going to ask a question, he's got to be quiet for people to answer.
Okay,
I wasn't finished until some Josh guy talked over me.
I'm muting everybody.
My name is Hayden.
Hold on, I'm muting everybody. Who's this guy in the backstage? Revillard Bichute. Who are you?
Let's hear from Mark or Daniel,
sir. Make yourself known.
I just asked Daniel a question. I'd like to have him answer that.
You're muted,
Peter.
Daniel.
Can you exercise just one iota of self-control?
Well, so Peter, my answer.
I can when I'm letting all of you speak. I think it would be respectful.
I don't know. I feel like this guy's
That's the best beard in history.
And when I ask Daniel a question, I would like you to give Daniel the room to answer, because Josh
I've been quiet
Daniel.
for like
Dustin
the last 10 minutes.
You're the only one shouting here. You're the only one who's off.
Oh, actually, you were just bitching about Josh. Shut up, Peter.
Oh God, guys!
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
Hey.
We got a new person on the.
Hi, I'm some degenerate. I was a Christian for 20 years, and I realized I was stolen from Judaism. You tell that pose this question. Sorry, I won't get your channel flagged.
My question, nigga. Get him out of here.
Get him out.
Get him out.
Out.
Wow,
Daniel,
Lord have mercy.
Daniel, go ahead.
Okay, so I want to go back to what Josh brought up actually with the
No,
give
I
on to
want you to
Caesar what
answer
is
my
Caesar.
question.
I am. I'm going to answer it using his
Okay.
verse. So give on to Caesar what is Caesar's, because he says, well, look who's on
Render.
this coin. And yeah, render, and it's the image of Caesar. So what we should give on to, he says, render unto God what is God's. That would be what this is. This is an icon of Christ. So we are supposed to give everything to Christ. That means that if our family gets in the way or anything else, we should let the dead bury the dead. We should have this urgency to have the kingdom of heaven.
How would the dead bury the dead?
Well, that's something that Jesus said.
I think you're missing. I think you're missing the point, because in Luke 14:26, those are the words of Jesus. It's not an icon. Those are his direct words.
Right. I'm saying the spirit of what he's saying is that you should be able to give up everything for Christ, even if like your family gets in the way and is like, you shouldn't be a Christian and like they're pagans or something. Like, obviously you'd want to bring your family with you if they're also Christian, but if they would be getting in the way of you and Christ, you pick Christ. Christ comes before everything else. You go all in. Because the first commandment that he gives onto us is that you need to love God with all of your heart, mind, and soul. So you have to be willing to give everything that you are.
So what I do know is that you cannot add. You're not allowed to add to God's word. What you're now doing is adding to God's word. The words of Jesus are clear. There's nothing in there that even alludes to the fact that you have to bring them with you in your love for Christ. That's not in there, not anywhere, nor is it even implied or suggested. Not in
Daniel.
the entire verse.
I think he's got a point.
Oh, well, Yeah, I think you have to take the entire Bible as a whole theology. So theology basically means the science of God, of understanding
Daniel,
God. And so
seriously,
it's not adding words. It's not adding words to the
It is
Bible.
adding words because
we
if
need
he's
to sit down.
specific,
Using
if he's
other words that he
specific,
said and
no, if he
understanding
is
what he meant.
specific, if he is specific in this particular part where he's talking to his followers, that is what he means. He doesn't say anywhere, look in other parts of the Bible so you can get out of this because there might be a cop-out found anywhere else in the Bible. That's not what he's saying. That's also not what he meant.
I can't save you, Daniel. You walked into this one.
Okay, Dustin, thank you. Well, Peter, how would you interpret it?
Well, the sword is
So how
usually
I would
in the
interpret it is
language.
that there is no love to be shared, that he did come that he came bringing a sword and wants to disrupt everything. So everyone has no alliance with anyone else. They just have to follow him.
Okay,
That's not bringing love. That's bringing love for Jesus, correct? But that's not bringing love to the people and between the people.
So there is a sense that there will be some families that are divided. That is, that's indisputable, especially in the early church.
There is a sense that every family has to be divided. That's the opposite of what you're saying.
That's not what the tradition of the church says. And so, like,
I know
cares
that's
about
not what the tradition of the church
what the
says.
Bible says?
We're talking about what Jesus said, not
Just
the church.
One second. Let me explain myself. So you guys were
Go ahead.
talking earlier about tradition and how oral tradition, like, how do you know really what's going on between the living?
Oh, he's gonna reach way back in the conversation to save himself.
Okay, Dustin.
We were talking about the Old Testament.
Yeah. So anyway, what I'm just trying to make a point about is that we believe the tradition of the church, like how we interpret these things, is guided by the Holy Spirit, which is God.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but the tradition of the church is
what
also
you're
that
saying
slavery is fine. That's the tradition of the Holy Church.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
the way we
what
look
you're
at it
saying
is the way
is
that
the
we look
oral
at it.
what you're saying that the oral traditions of the earlier stories in the Old Testament are as important as the words coming directly from Jesus.
I'm saying whatever the church has received through the Holy Spirit, including the interpretation of this said scriptures, are exactly what was meant to happen.
We're not talking about interpretation of scriptures. We're talking about direct communication from Jesus himself.
Yeah, you just keep digging yourself deeper and deeper.
Dustin,
Dustin, please, Dustin, come on.
Are the words from Jesus up to interpretation? Or is Jesus
they are.
to be?
We had to interpret
do you not just need to listen to the words and know what they said because they're clear as day?
We don't believe in sola scriptura. We're against that. So we believe that you have.
So you
to
don't believe in Jesus.
You have to believe.
That's what you're saying.
Are you a Catholic, Daniel? I just want to know your stance.
I'm an Orthodox Christian.
Orthodox, right? Gotcha.
So we don't believe in
Eastern Orthodox.
Eastern Orthodox, yeah. So we believe in a holy tradition of a way to interpret the scripture, and we look at it how the Holy Fathers looked at it.
So not in Jesus. That's what you're saying.
We're saying that we don't worship the Bible; we worship the Word of God, which is Jesus Christ. And you just
said that you rejected the words of Jesus Christ because you can interpret it differently.
So you worship what the fathers say about Jesus Christ, Daniel.
Dustin,
that's exactly.
Hey, Dustin,
shut up.
Come on.
All right, I'm going to start moderating here again. I warned everybody at the beginning. I'm going to be a bit more liberal with this here mute hammer.
Seems I'm the only one who's listening to you.
I really hate being stream Hitler and just having to mute people every 10 seconds. But if that's
Let's
where we're
hear
going
from
to
Mark. We haven't heard from Mark in a while.
Yeah,
I'm okay. I'm all right. I just, I think that sort of the interpretation of a sword in sort of the ancient Greek is warfare and strife. I think that if you're going to take symbolism from it, it is conflict. That a sword would be the same as, a gun in our society. There's no real, it is designed to hurt people. That's what it's designed to do.
Have to make a joke, Mark. So if Jesus is coming back, is he going to bring an AR-15?
Presumably. Man, it wouldn't be the weirdest belief that I've heard, to be honest with you.
A sword can be a weapon and it can be a tool. Just the same. Yes, it can be used
as a weapon.
I'm going to use that the very first time I get caught with my sword in the street.
I'm sorry, is a gun used as a weapon?
Dustin, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
What is the reason that the rest of the world, the other religions, and even atheists view the Old Testament God and the New Testament God as completely separate gods? We view the God of Judaism, Yahweh, and then we have a view of Jesus as a separate God, whereas Christians say that those gods are one. Why do the rest of the world disagree with that?
I'm sorry, the rest of what world? Where who?
All other religions and atheists would say that those are two separate gods that people are worshiping.
And I care why. I care about what they say because.
Well, I'm asking you why it is that way.
I don't know.
Okay.
How would I know? How would I know people disagree about whether or not you should have pineapple on pizza? Can you tell me why people? Can you tell me why people disagree about whether or not pineapple should be on pizza, Big Bad Mama? Can you tell me that? Does that mean anything? Does that mean anything about the color of tea in China? Does that mean anything about anything?
Let's let Big Bad Mama reply.
We're talking about the history of the West and the evolution of religions. It's tied in with history. And talking about pineapple on pizza is not, it makes no sense whatsoever.
No, what you're saying makes no sense. You're asking me to explain why two people disagree about whether or not Jesus is one with the Father or if Jesus is separate with the Father, which I believe happens to be a combination of both. Simultaneously, the Father is in Jesus as Jesus is in the Father. Therefore, the inheritance of one means the assumption of the other. So if
I'm laughing at Aiden's comment. I'm not laughing at you, Dustin.
I mean, you and I both agree with this one, Daniel. I happen to know for a fact because I've explained this before, and you've lockstepped and barreled right alongside with me. So
pay attention. Yeah, what are you saying?
I'm just saying that the reason that there is this controversy is because there is a way to interpret it, and it depends on what faction of life and what individual religion you subscribe to. There are those in Ireland that war over this very thing to this very day. The Irish bomb has been made very, very popular by religious fanatics that can't make up their mind on whether Jesus is one with the Father or not. I have no explanatory power that would alleviate your question in any way, shape, or form to a respectable or a responsible level.
Oh, I do.
Okay. So Dustin, I have a question. Dustin, so what is your methodology for telling who's right and who's wrong? How do you determine who's right?
I mean, it would depend on what's in question.
Well, you said they have arguments over, obviously you've got your own position on that, but what is your methodology or the way of doing things that reliably finds out who is right about these matters and who is wrong about these matters when different interpretations?
There's only one direct way to understand what truth is, and that is a direct analog example. For example, you and I, if you are being honest, have no idea how an electron or not damn it, what's the word? A transistor works. If we're being honest about it, even the scientists really don't know. They theorize it. They have an explanation. I have to accept their explanation because of the result of all these transistors working in concert that says that when I say something here, you're listening to what I say over there. I have to accept that because I have repeatable and demonstrable evidence that shows to the positive that every time I use this piece of equipment that is based on the transistor, the explanation is sound. That is an analog direct example.
Dustin, sorry to interrupt, Dustin. This is a red herring. It's got nothing to do with like we can see. Okay, just say you're right, and they have no idea how it works, which I don't think is true. I think it's based on resistances, but that's a red herring, right? I'm not going down that track. What I asked you was your methodology for telling which is the right interpretation. What you've come back at me with is a whataboutism. You're saying, well, what about the transistor?
No,
that has nothing to do with your methodology. And if you want to concede,
you don't know what you're talking about.
You don't have a methodology for telling the difference between who is right and who is not. I'll accept that concession. If not, tell me your methodology for determining who is right and who is wrong in these matters.
Do you need me to use smaller words, Mark? I'll use smaller words if you need me to.
Maybe.
Okay.
Go for it.
So when I was younger, my parents told me that one day I was going to grow up. And when I got there, I discovered that I grew up. Therefore, my methodology is waiting to see if what something is said to me turns out to be true or not. That is the only methodology, because anything short of that is speculation, Mark.
So you don't know that you're right until Jesus comes back and shows who's right.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all, Mark. Yes, that's what I'm saying, Mark. I have no way of verifying I'm right about anything until I see what I think is going to happen happens.
Okay, so you've got no idea if you're right.
Who does, Mark? Are you 100% sure about everything?
We do. The Orthodox do.
Okay.
Yeah, good luck with that.
What's your methodology?
Okay, for us, it's apostolic succession, and it's being based off of Scripture, and it's also that the churches all agree with each other. So we come together in councils, and the Holy Spirit will guide us. We'll all agree on something together. It's only happened like 7 times in a major way.
But the Catholics also have apostolic succession.
They do.
And they disagree with you. So how is your methodology reliable if other people are using the same methodology and they're coming up with different results?
Well, so we believe that they were wrong in the schism, and they think that we were wrong in the schism.
Yes. And, so how do we determine who's right?
Well, God knows that. But I believe it's the Eastern Orthodox Church. That's what God guided me to, and I trust the Holy Spirit.
No, I totally. Hey, you've got a right to believe anything you want. Sure, I'm merely questioning you on the epistemology of why you believe that, and sort of. So the telling thing for me, Daniel, is sort of when you say, "Hey, I believe we're right." It's not actually saying, "Hey, we have this method for telling how we're right." It's just reiterating that you are in fact right.
Well, we would argue.
One second. The Catholics are doing as well. So. Really, what I want you to think about is if you've got the Sunni and the Shiite Muslims, right? And if the Sunni Muslims go, well, we're right because we have the councils of Muhammad wanted councils, and we have all of our muftis and our leaders do councils, and the Shiites say, hey, yes, but we've got the descendants of Muhammad ruling us. From an external perspective, there's no way you can tell who's right. And to the outsider, you're both sort of saying the same thing. Do you understand that?
I totally understand what you're saying, for sure. But it is very convincing, at least to me, and of course to other people, that the Catholic Church kept innovating and we stayed the same. And that was like our whole thing. Is like we stick to the tradition. If it worked for the saints, it works for us.
And, are you still using an old calendar there, Daniel?
Well, we are in communion with the old calendars, and we have the same Pascha. But they're in the West. We have the new calendar, but the calendar was never dogma. It doesn't change the rule of faith, so it shouldn't be something that divides us.
I mean, what do the Catholics have that dogmatically distinguishes them from you? From what I understand, the vast majority of the actual dispute between the Catholic and Orthodox churches are mainly political in nature rather than...
it's the Pope.
Basically.
Energy essence. energy essence. Okay, the Pope is let's say Pope is number 1. Number 2 would be energy essence distinction, and number 3 would be the filioque. Those are the 3 main things for sure.
I would only say in regards
immaculate conception is also bad, but we won't.
Let's be real. It was the Pope, Daniel. You got that was the thing that you guys broke up.
Come on, Dustin. He said that was number 1. He did sort of, say that. So
because number 1 leads to everything else. Because if you put just one person in power, he can change too much about the church at once.
I mean, I would only say that the reason why the Pope and the Vatican started like assuming all of this power, I know that it's been argued from the Protestant, I'm not sure what the Orthodox viewpoint is on it, but the Protestants say that it's because of the spirit of Satan and all these different explanations that are spiritual for why the Pope ended up gaining all this authority and power over so many people. But it's really just easy to explain from a political standpoint, like all of the Eastern synods were relatively unified because they still had the Roman Empire unifying them. And in the West, that wasn't the case. They ended up losing their half of the empire. And because they were so decentralized, they had to start relying on religious authorities as a force of centralization rather than secular forces. Well, comparatively secular forces. I wouldn't say that the Byzantine Empire was exactly secular.
What you're saying now. Yeah. Actually, I would agree with you because I think it's sin that led to the schism. It is a lot of it was political.
Sorry, Daniel. The Byzantine Empire did have slaves and really endorsed slavery. So
Correct.
Why has that changed in the Eastern Orthodox religion?
Oh man. Well,
I know, tough questions. I know these are really tough questions.
Bring it back to topic.
I appreciate it, Mark. You're keeping it real.
I'm trying.
I haven't fact checked that. I'm sure you're right though. What is that? Just like a Google AI answer?
No. I actually looked into this prior to the debate, and I already knew a little bit about the Eastern Roman Empire prior to this in regards to its slavery. And they did. They did curtail. They did curtail some of the things that the pagan Roman Empire were doing. Like, for example, you weren't allowed to prostitute your slaves anymore. You weren't allowed to leave your slaves out and let them die of exposure. You're not allowed to sell your children into slavery like you were under the classical Roman period. But ultimately, they didn't decide, hey, let's get rid of slavery because slavery is wrong. They decided, hey, let's switch up how slavery works, but ultimately still keep the same system.
Yeah.
You mean like it is today?
Yeah, and actually, I would kind of agree with Dustin there because Mark brought it up too a little bit. Like there is a little bit of slavery today in a strange way. Like it's like humanity has fallen, and like it sucks that we want to subjugate each other.
I just want to
the Emancipation Proclamation didn't change anything about slavery except for the name. It has been relegated to the peculiar institution, also known as prison or jail. Slavery didn't go anywhere. The word changed.
I mean, slavery absolutely did get abolished, and the reason why I say that it got abolished...
You tell me how many federal people are building furniture right now.
Let me explain, please. Yeah, those people are building furniture, and they are making license plates, and that is really shitty. I agree with you. But ultimately, those people are doing that not because they...
there's a justification here.
Those people are doing that, and they're doing it for a really shitty wage, which, by the way, if they're being paid anything at all, that inherently makes it not slavery. If you're being compensated...
That's not true.
Sorry, Aiden. Wage slavery is definitely a thing, mate. There's no
Thank
question
you.
about
well,
it.
Wage slavery... Okay, what do you mean by wage slavery? Define wage slavery.
So wage slavery is basically the manipulation of the economic circumstances of a person who is, if for more intents and purposes, they're working with
the Dole company.
Well, thanks. There's no possible way out of their circumstances, and they are absolutely 100% reliant on the work for their survival. Now, the reason why prisons doesn't fall into that is because usually the work is voluntary. They get a commissary. You can choose not to work and then you won't get a commissary. They're not entirely dependent on it for food and resources and stuff. And that's not to say that wage slavery doesn't exist even in America. But what we have to realize is that what abolition did, it basically stopped slavery from occurring where there was no crime committed, and the only thing that basically marked you as a slave was a skin color or race or
No, it changed the distinction, Mark. It changed the distinction with which the law was applied. It did not, because the Constitution. No,
slavery. That doesn't make any sense. You had
proclamation.
You had prisons already.
Okay, hold on. Let's let Big Bad Mama say something, and then I want to say something in regards to what was just talked about in regards to.
So I mean, the big difference is that if somebody breaks the law and is tried, they've committed a crime, then they're imprisoned. That has always been the way. I mean, always.
That's got nothing to do with what I'm saying, Big Bad Mama.
I think Christianity brought that.
I will concede, Dustin. I will concede to you, Dustin. I will concede to you that some of these work programs that are being implemented are absolutely immoral and they're exploitative rather than rehabilitative, right? So they're basically imprisoning people and more or less tricking them into working or compelling them to work. You know, they're under duress to work.
It is a force of compulsion, yes.
Right. And I agree that it is immoral, and whether it falls into slavery because they do have that option, I think that duress would put it dangerously close, if not over the line of wage slavery. So I kind of agree with you. It's immoral. I have no problem with work programs that are supposed to give people skills to make a better life. But I feel that some of these institutions are... Sorry?
The people that get out, by the time they get out, they're not going to have much of their life left to have. I mean, what, you think they're going to make furniture for the rest of, I don't know, maybe 15 years?
Depends on their sentence.
That's a good, I mean, that's true, but the short timers end up getting dead more than often. I mean, really, what is the revolving door of the Fed system? Nowhere near the prison or the jail system.
I'm not going to support the American prison system, right? I think that the sort of European, Scandinavian countries, Netherlands, Sweden, where they do rehabilitative justice, is working way better to actually reduce crime, which ostensibly or is supposed to be the actual goal of this institution. So,
that's why we have to rent out prisons, Mark.
No, Mark, it was never the goal of the prison. The prison was for punishment, and the peculiar...
That's an American way of thinking.
No, Dustin, just quickly, ostensibly means what it's saying it is, right? What it's trying to appear to be. Okay, that's what...
they do call themselves the Department of Corrections.
Right. So what I'm saying is it doesn't, I don't think some of these, the prison system companies are actually working for that goal. I'm saying that's
the
what
Nazis called themselves the SS, coincidentally.
Hey, let's let Mark finish that, please.
We're in agreement, Dustin. I agree with you that these programs are immoral. I agree with you. I'm trying to give you some credit.
Everyone agrees
a really
with
good
that,
point.
I think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I, on the other hand,
it's in the Constitution.
You're equating that to slavery, and a person is just
it's in the Constitution.
Their value. They cost a certain amount to the slave owner, and they bring in money to the slave owner. That's all they represent, is the cost of getting them.
Now you're talking about chattel slavery.
And then, well, that's what I'm talking about. You're talking about the U.S. prison system, and I'm talking about chattel slavery.
Well, before we get
the U.S. prison system is the only system that can still use slavery according to the Constitution.
It's been relegated to the peculiar institution. That was the whole idea of the proclamation.
All right.
Aiden, I think you wanted to talk about illegal slavery and how you see a difference.
Well, we were talking about wage slavery earlier, and I guess I'll clarify and say that a person in the Gilded Age working for company scrip that they can only spend at the company store, I would agree that that's a form of wage slavery. That's definitely a system where that person is entirely dependent upon that. The reason why I made the distinction about wage slavery is because I think that the term has been a little bit overblown, for lack of a better term, where somebody that's working a shitty job at McDonald's or the Dollar General is called a wage slave, and I just disagree with that as a concept.
I mean, those are supposed to be bridgeway
Also, Daniel,
jobs.
when you talk about illegal slavery, the American prison system would be illegal in my country.
Yeah, I actually
Who cares?
I was thinking about the Amnesty International thing earlier. Aiden, you said like you don't agree with the Amnesty International saying there's more slavery today than ever before.
I would say there's not more slaves
there is.
proportionate to the population than ever before, is what I clarified.
Okay, because I was going to say, like, are you making the distinction in that one type of slavery is legal and institutionalized versus like a lot of human trafficking is obviously illegal?
Right. And the amount of human trafficking that's going on in the world right now is abhorrent and disgusting and needs to be clamped down upon immediately. But at the same time, while that is a very important statistic that needs to be brought up, we need to also contextualize it in the historical context as well, which is that I think it was during the height of antebellum slavery, it was about some 30% of America's population was slaves. So it was a much, much higher proportion of the population compared to anything that we see today. I mean, even during the Gilded Age, I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that 30% of the population was wage slaves, even back in those times. I'd have to look into it, though.
I mean, it was a state of feudalism where your lord basically owned everything you owned until what your debt was paid, which essentially equated to wage slavery.
Oh, you're talking about indentured servitude. Yeah, that's also slavery for sure. That's also
correct.
A variety of slavery.
Yeah, but Dustin, you mentioned the Emancipation Proclamation. And then you got on me when I started talking about chattel slavery. That
you're changing
about chattel slavery.
No, it wasn't about chattel slavery. It was about changing chattel slavery. It was about changing chattel slavery. It didn't get rid of it. It changed it. It went from ownership of the individual to ownership to the peculiar institution. You can look this up. I keep using these phrases for a reason.
Well, explain what happened historically then.
I'm trying to. The proclamation did
phrase
because it's historically relevant.
Go ahead.
The peculiar institution, i.e. prison or jail. Okay? Because the original slave, believe it or not, was a fugitive or a criminal that was eligible for bond slavery under the East India Trading Company, which was the original treaty, which was also dealt with by the proclamation. Okay, these things have to be recognized in law, they have to be recodified, and the language has to be stricken down to a contract level so that bonds, units, and all manner of financial institutional transactions can be made.
So I'm misunderstanding, Dustin, because you sort of keep referring to chattel slavery, and why is it chattel slavery if it's bond slavery, which is a different thing? Like chattel slavery.
Listen to what I'm saying. Okay, the proclamation changed the language. It changed the language. It changed the language. It did not.
Can I respond?
It did not do away. It did not do away with slavery. Well, hold on. Let me finish. It did not do away with slavery in no way, shape, or form. It just changed the ownership.
Big Bad Mama never said that, Dustin. Big Bad Mama said it did away with chattel slavery.
But he asked me to explain.
You're also wrong about the East India Trading Company, which is a Dutch company, and I just looked
it up. What was I wrong about?
It doesn't say.
What was I wrong about?
It doesn't say anything about slaves being criminals at all. People were enslaved as domestic servants.
That's
how were they captured? How were they captured, Peter? How were they captured?
Dustin, let me finish my point. Chattel slavery is where you own a slave. It can be bought, it can be sold, it can be transferred ownership. It can be like you own that as property and are able to do with it what you will. Bond slavery is different because you basically are bonded to one master and they can't do these things to you, but you're still owned by them. So when
what does that have to do with what I'm saying?
Well, I'm explaining if you'd actually shut up for a fucking second, Dustin, because when Big Bad Mama said it ended, I'm in the process of doing it now, you absolute moron. Like when Big Bad Mama said it ended chattel slavery and you went, oh, no, it changed the definition. It literally ended the ability for people to sell their slaves, transfer their slaves, and use their slaves as form of currency, which is chattel slavery.
No, it didn't.
Yes.
It relegated the ownership of the chattel slavery to an institution. Will you stop interrupting me? Will you stop
Indian
interrupting
Slavery
me?
Act of 1843.
That's got nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now, Peter. Shut up.
That is you were talking about the East
Shut
India Trading Company.
All right, guys, I'm just gonna have a bunch of yelling. Okay, come on.
Dude, let me
You were
finish.
talking about the East India Trading Company.
Dude, will you mute Peter, please? Mute Peter. Mute that dumb motherfucker. Mute him.
Peter.
Mute
Peter.
Mute Peter. Thank you.
Peter, you're next.
Again, Mark. Look, it didn't get rid of slavery. I never said
it did.
Chattel slave. No, shut the fuck up,
In
Peter.
1843.
Peter?
Look it up.
For the love of God. Okay, so you're saying that for ownership, you have to have the ability to transfer. What happens when you transfer an inmate? You take out a bond, right? You take out paperwork. You ask for permission from another institution. What's the difference between slavery and transferring an inmate? They're all responsible, right? Those individuals are not allowed to be free, are they? Neither were slaves. What's the difference, Mark? Explain to me, please.
Sure. Okay. The difference between chattel slavery and bond slavery is chattel can be bought and sold and transferred. Their ownership is allowed to be used as a form of commodity that is traded. And that's where you had slave trading across the East Atlantic. Bond slavery is when you are bonded to a master. You may have rights, like he cannot sell you to another person. He can't use you as a commodity and he can't trade you. And that's the difference between the two. So when you say the definition changed, that is not true because the actual status of the slave changed from chattel to bond slavery. So when Big Bad Mama said they abolished chattel slavery, he's absolutely right.
No, I'm sorry, Mark. Who pays for the slave?
Can I attempt to steelman your argument, Dustin?
Please. But for 1 second though, Mark, who pays for the slave?
Who pays for the slave?
Who pays for the slave? Who pays for the slave?
By who maintains them or who buys?
Who maintains? I mean, inmate and slave. In my analogy here, I'm using them interchangeably. Who pays for the slave?
Who whoever owns
you don't
the
have
slave.
to pay.
Okay, you agree with that? Okay, you agree. Whoever pays for the slave owns the slave. So where does the money come from for the institution? From the taxpayers' money of the people. For the institution where they're housed, the institution where they're housed, the inmate, the inmate and the slave. It doesn't matter. Inmate, prison, jail, federal prison, doesn't matter. Who pays for the inmate? Who pays for the slave? I'm using them interchangeably, Mark. Remember. So
we're
don't
talking about American abolition.
No fucking shit, dude. It's the American taxpayer. It's you and me. So wait! I'm almost done. You agree? Shut up! Okay. Let me finish. Let me become
prisoners.
You agreed earlier. Shut up! Shut up, Peter! Shut up! Mute him, please. Mute him. Let me finish. Let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Let's let Dustin.
Thank you.
Finish what he's saying.
Mark,
if
you agreed earlier. Mark, fucking Peter, shut the fuck up. Okay, Mark, you agreed earlier. He who pays for the slave owns the slave. If the institution is housing the slave and the people are paying in tax dollars to the institution which houses the slave, does that mean that the people then have ownership over the people that are instituted and in inmate status?
No.
Oh, okay. So there's a special exception because the tax money pays for the inmate's housing, but it's different because
Dustin, you're making one mistake. No one is
hold
paying
on,
for
shut the
the
fuck up,
slaves.
Peter. You are so unintelligible. It's fucking retarded.
He asked me a question. I'd really like to answer it. So
Yeah, but no one's paying for the prisoners to be
Shut the
in
fuck up,
prison.
Peter. It comes out of taxpayer money, asshole.
Hold it. So basically the way that it's run in the United States, because I didn't know that's specifically what we're talking about, is that prison companies are usually basically making a business out of setting these up on behalf of the federal government, and they not only have
trading company.
Okay, but if you're gonna get upset at other people for interrupting you, then you need to give them the common courtesy of not interrupting them, Dustin. Come on.
Mark,
so
can I say something?
No, you can't. So in this case, it's basically they get paid by the federal government, but there are restrictions and regulations on how those slaves, those people are treated. And I agree that it is exploitative. Whether it rises to the level of slavery is definitely debatable. But you may have
my rebuttal.
But it is still not chattel slavery. Chattel slavery.
Mark, you're missing a point.
No, I'm not, Peter. Shut the fuck up.
Yes, you are.
If the company could go and sell these slaves to another person, then it would be chattel slavery. It is not. So no matter what sort of disambiguation or analogy that you're trying to make, it does not fall into chattel slavery.
Bullshit. That's bullshit, Mark. That's bullshit. You, on one side of the argument, claim that whoever pays for the slave, i.e. inmate, in this example, owns that slave. But there's a special example, or there's a special exemption because Mark said so? What do you mean? What exactly is your argument again? It's not an argument.
Mark,
No, you're not. You don't have an argument, Mark. You just said nuh-uh and hand waved the argument away. Nuh-uh because I said so.
May I say, Peter has been waiting for like a solid minute.
Yeah, Mark, you're missing one very important point. He said who pays.
Stupid.
He said, listen. He said who
we
pays
agree
for
on
the
that
slaves.
one, Mark.
He said who pays for the slaves.
Guys, let Peter talk. Come on.
Peter doesn't let anybody else talk. I don't see why I should grant the courtesy of doing
for
the same.
over 10 minutes. I
Peter,
was quiet.
I had to mute you 7 times. I had to mute you like 7 times.
Because I wanted to join the conversation.
Because I wanted.
Mark,
shut up, Peter.
We're gonna let
can you mute him?
We're gonna let Peter talk. Or I am going to start.
I'm being decent, and I'm asking every single time if I can interrupt. If that's not enough, Mark, I will leave. Just say so.
No,
I
want to hear what Peter has to say.
What you are missing is that Dustin says who pays for the slaves. Can you tell me who pays people to go to prison? No one.
Shut up, dude. You are so stupid.
For slaves. Slaves have to be housed. That has to be paid for. It isn't paying for a slave. This is the thing where you two are talking past each other.
No. I confirmed with Dustin that by paid, he meant maintained. So who pays for the housing, the clothing, the food, all of the stuff to maintain them?
We don't listen to it.
Dustin is a moron because he doesn't even know what the Dutch East India Company was and what they did.
Dude,
he doesn't even know that they officially prohibited slavery entirely in the Slavery Act of 1843. It didn't change the definition of slavery. It abolished it completely. So
Okay.
he
completely-
doesn't have a clue what the fuck he's talking about because it's not in his country.
How did the slaves get over here?
There is
One
a
last point,
specific distinction between the Atlantic slave trade and the Dutch East India Company. The Dutch East India Company had one thing in common, that most of the slaves,
Did they transport slaves?
the majority came from East Africa.
Peter, did they transport slaves? Did the East India Trading Company transport slaves? Yes or no? Did the East India Trading Company transport slaves? Yes or no? It's a yes or no? It's a yes or no question. Yes or no question. Yes or no question. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or?
If you shut the.
All right, both of you are gonna get muted for a second, and I am going to reinforce Dustin's question so that perhaps we might actually be able to fucking advance this conversation. Peter, yes or no?
Yes.
Did the East India Company transport slaves?
Yes, because that's what I actually said. That was the one thing they had in common with the Atlantic slave trade, apart from the fact that most of the slaves came from
everything else you're
East
saying
Africa.
is irrelevant.
That's the only thing they had in common.
Yeah, you know what? You know how the slaves from East Africa were selected? Do you know how that happened? Do you think that the East India Trading Company went? No, yeah, it is actually, because it's exactly what I was talking about. Because you have no idea what I was talking about. Do you know how the slaves were selected? Do you have any clue? Because they were criminals to their own people. They were captured and sold as a debt. Yes, they were. You can look this up. You can say nope all you want, Peter, but it is an actual fact that it started out as certain people were sold off as a penance for their crimes to other people. And then after a certain amount of time, it started becoming a company and a sport where certain people were just hunted down and sold off as tribute to clans and certain tribal leaders. That's exactly what happened. The same thing happened. Well, I'm not going to go any further, but that is the history of what happened, Peter.
I think after the abolition of the slaves,
I just looked it up. It's wrong.
Let's let Daniel talk. Daniel hasn't said much of anything.
Yeah. I think after the abolition of slaves, that basically they had to work and they had to pay for their own housing. At that point, they were basically more like a wage slave, I guess. And I don't think it was probably a fair condition because they probably didn't have a lot of skills to do anything else besides just stay on the farm. But I don't think that they were transferred as prisoners.
Well, that's.
I just looked it up. While some Africans enslaved in the transatlantic slave trade were criminals, debtors, or prisoners of war within the African system, the vast majority were not.
That's just what I said, dumbass. That's just exactly word for word what I said. Later on, it became a sport. Later on, it became a sport.
The first ones were criminals, which is wrong.
One at a time.
Okay. When we get back to Daniel's
you said
point,
the first ones were criminals, which is wrong. The vast majority were not.
Stupid motherfucker.
I agree with
motherfucker.
Let's go back. Let's go back and
history just disagrees with you, so that makes you.
No, you disagree. You just don't know how to fucking read.
I looked it up. You didn't.
Christian of you, Dustin. Look, Daniel made a really good.
That insult doesn't work on me, Mark. It doesn't. I could give a fuck less about your opinion of my Christianity.
Don't you
He's
think
not
a
a Christian
should be humble and sort of,
I'm as humble as I need to be when I need to be, Mark. I'm not expecting you to explain to me, an atheist, to explain to me what a fucking Christian is. Do me a favor and blow that smoke someplace else.
Christians
okay, so do you think you're fulfilling your obligation under 1 Peter 3:15?
Again, blow that smoke somewhere else.
Okay,
yeah,
so
you
don't know what your obligation is under 1 Peter.
I don't give a shit what you think about what my obligations are, Mark. You can blow that smoke right up your own ass until you go floating with that fat ass head of yours down a river somewhere. Shut the fuck up. Stop commenting on my Christianity.
No, it's fine. Let him go. I don't have any expectations of Christians. It's just that The Bible has expectations.
Oh, but you're only trying to shame me for it, right? You're trying to shame me into acting a certain way. Shut the fuck up, Mark.
What I'm saying is that your behavior conflicts with what is expressly.
I couldn't give a shit less, Mark. I'm human. Okay. I'm human.
Hey, let's let Mark say something though. Let's I'm trying to get back to a point where we have Jesus, somewhat Mark. Of a like.
Yeah, no, I'm getting that. Well, I mean that's his interpretation. He's entirely welcome to it. I just find it strange because it is contradictory and kind of weird.
Stop trying to help me, Mark, please. Stop trying to help me. Okay, it's not wanted. It's not needed. I didn't ask you for it. I don't need your help, Mark. I don't need your help. I don't need it. Well, that's why I'm angry, because you're offering me advice, and Mark, you are the last person on this planet. The last person on this planet I'm coming to for advice. Okay, so please do me the favor and stop trying to do me a favor, please. Because I have no respect for you or your position or your view on life.
He has the right to give you the advice.
I'm just being honest about it. I have the right to decline it too.
No,
I have the right to decline it.
No,
I don't. I don't need to. When it comes to him criticizing me, I don't need to let him finish. I don't. Okay, I don't need to accept his criticism. I don't need to accept his advice.
I'm entitled to air my opinion as you're entitled to air yours. Like if you think I'm fat-headed or whatever, you're entitled to air that. That's fine. It doesn't bother me. But what I'm saying is that your anger is actually really disruptive to this entire thing, and it's a problem, right? Like, so
I'm glad you feel that way.
Okay.
Let him finish, please, Dustin.
No, it's fine. I'm done. I just, it's just weird. Someone doesn't care about Jesus. That's fine.
No, I don't care about your opinion, Mark. Let's make sure we get this straight. I could give a shit less about your opinion. That's what I don't care about. Okay? So we're straight. So you're straight. So we're square. You understand. It's not about Jesus that I don't care about. It's about your opinion about Jesus, right? So we're understanding. So we're on equal footing here. So we understand what I'm saying. Right, Mark?
So if you want to understand what I'm saying is that, well, we've got to understand each other, right?
You're missing exactly what I'm saying. I don't care what you have to say about my Christianity. Okay. When it comes to my Christianity, I'm telling you off fucking limits. And I would respect the same limit. I would respect the same boundary lines. I would respect the same boundary lines that you set with me, Mark. I would respect those same boundary lines.
Would you say that my atheism is off limits then? My atheism's off limits for you?
Fine. I will respect that from now on, and I believe that Aiden will even vouch for me.
The difference is we want to hear your opinion on atheism, but you're not willing to hear our opinion about Christianity.
No, I don't care. It's not. You don't believe in it. Why would I care about your opinion?
Regardless of Christianity, though, Dustin, you do have a tendency to get angry, and that becomes the focus of the stream. Well, it becomes the focus of the stream as opposed to the argument or the discussion we're having. I'm telling you that your anger becomes a discussion of the stream.
So are you asking me not to come around?
All right, come on.
I'm not asking you not to come around, but I'm saying you need to control yourself. It's not up to me to control you.
I don't need anything, Aiden. I don't need anything, Big Bad Mama. I don't need anything. I don't need to listen to your advice. Okay, I don't need to listen to your criticism. Well, I'm not going to, though, right?
Oh,
you may have said the words. No, see, like it went in one ear and out the other. Like I'm not actually listening to you, Big
You understood it.
I want you to understand. I'm not actually.
You know what? No, wait. I'm muting everybody. It's my turn now. All I'm going to say about that, as somebody that's been pretty fucking neutral about this entire thing, Dustin, you should never pride yourself on your ignorance. That's all I'm going to say.
On my ignorance? You guys are commenting on something you don't believe in.
You're talking about and taking pride in the fact that you're not listening to what somebody else is saying to you.
About something they don't believe in?
I mean,
about something they don't believe in. About we're clear. We're clear.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say that that's true. Okay, let's just give that to you. Let's grant that premise. If that's true, Dustin, then if what they're saying is just totally fucking bullshit and batshit and doesn't mean anything, then isn't it the better that it stand on its own merit or lack thereof? If it's really just that obvious that it's just fucking not true, then why does it necessitate getting so frustrated?
Aiden, can I ask you a question?
What's up?
I'm lost. You guys.
Can I ask you?
Fucking Peter. Every opportunity you have to interrupt.
Mute him, please?
Every single
Can you mute
stinking
him?
time.
Please let Peter talk, Dustin. I really don't want to mute
I thought you just asked me a question.
I did ask Dustin a question, Peter. Okay, God.
I don't know. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Let Peter waste our time with some lame brain airhead bullshit.
Aiden, if you were not willing to listen, would you join a panel of people talking?
I mean, not typically, no.
I mean, when it comes to one facet, I don't want to listen. When it comes to you guys criticizing my Christianity,
you said you would respect people if they acted. If you,
I didn't say I'd respect you. I sure as hell never said I'd respect you.
You said you would respect Mark's.
I sure as hell never said I'd respect
Would you respect me doing the things you do? Because I can overtalk you all the time. Just ask Aiden,
you already
talk, and it doesn't even matter.
Let him talk, please.
Look, I'm sorry. I brought this up. I'm sorry, everybody. I kind of went down this road. I'm just frustrated, and I apologize. I probably shouldn't have brought it up. So, I think we should maybe take a breath. Get back to the topic, Mark. Get it back on board. Wow, okay. Maybe you need to
just
have
do
some
me a favor
assistance
in the
with that,
future. When you feel like giving me advice, just shut your mouth when you're talking to me, okay? Especially when it comes to Christianity.
All right, but let's chill now, okay? Can we chill?
No, Dustin, no.
Can we chill?
We will do the same.
If you're gonna dish it out, you better be ready to take it.
Grant you the same thing.
Haven't I been taking it? Haven't I been turning the other cheek?
Not exactly. Not exactly.
Not
no.
exactly?
You're trying.
Okay.
What you're trying to hit me?
My temper once.
No, for real, Mark. I mean, be honest about it. Why would you take advice from me about evolution, even though I don't believe in it? If I was to come to you and say, "Hey, look, Mark, I got this cool new theory about evolution," would you listen to word fucking one out of my mouth? I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You can shut the fuck up, Peter.
I wouldn't listen because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So why would I take advice about evolution from someone who doesn't know jack shit about it? Whereas Mark probably knows more about Christianity than you ever did.
That's speculation, Peter. I'm glad you feel that way. Now you can shut the fuck up.
That is easily proved by looking at his channel.
So
this dude is a moron.
So how's the weather where you're
looking at his debates? Mark knows probably a lot more about Christianity than I do.
Look, again,
and I've been doing this for 10 years.
That has nothing to do with anything, Peter. Okay, everybody grows at their own rate. You might have issues with my Christianity. Guess what? I have issues with the fact that you're breathing and are upright above the fucking ground.
Nil. Is that your rate?
Dustin, come on. That's not good.
Dude, I can't stand this dude. I cannot stand this dude.
Yeah, I mean that's evident. Look, I would listen to you. It doesn't mean I would believe you or take you seriously, but I would listen to you if you had a theory about evolution.
I'm just cutting it short, Mark. Please, I don't want to waste your time, and you certainly don't want to waste mine with something I'm not going to listen to you for. I just am trying to emphasize the point so it gets through your thick fucking skull. I don't want your advice when it comes to my Christianity.
Maybe I'm not entirely saying it for you, Dustin. Maybe I'm sort of saying it for the audience and other people.
Then could you maybe not use my name, please? Could you maybe not use my name? Like when you say Dustin, you see your anger.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. You're not my therapist. Okay. I doubt if you're even qualified.
Mark, you should be dusting off your shoes, like it says in the Bible.
Light it up, Daniel.
Okay.
You should be dusting off your shoes. Says that right there in the Bible, Mark. Do that. Dusting off your shoes.
Thank you. That's the best advice that's come out of Peter's mouth tonight.
I know you're carrying Big Bad Mama. Come on. I can't be the only one out here.
You know, so Dustin, I know we don't always see eye to eye and all that.
We don't even see freaking nose to nose, bro.
Let Daniel talk, please, for the love of Christ.
Literally for that. Like, it does say in the Bible, it admonishes us to be a light to the world and to not to cause, people to be embittered, and, trying our best. I'm not saying that any of us are perfect, but, like, not to be prideful in it, and to really come to God for repentance and try to do better,
I missed the part of the Bible that says that I should come to an atheist for advice.
Daniel, now you're implying Dustin cares what the Bible says. I mean,
Peter, you know absolutely nothing about me, dude. You know absolutely nothing about me. You know nothing. You know nothing about me, dude. Okay, I'm just gonna let you know.
Asshole,
well, that may be true. That may be true. I can't deny that. But again, you don't know square one about me, dude.
So, Big Bad Mama, how's the weather where you're
doing?
It was about 70 degrees today.
Wow, you got nice weather.
What's that insensitive?
Where are you at?
I'm in San Diego.
Don't you love that, Mark, when they're like, it's 72 degrees outside, and you've got to go
somebody
like,
asked me the
that's
fucking
like...
temperature, didn't they?
That doesn't mean that it's not on you to learn something that's sensible.
What am I supposed to say? Oh, I'm suffering like everybody else in the country.
Big Bad Mama, I've got a question for you. I've got a question for you. When is the latest Hovendized thing coming out? And shouldn't have Trump drained that swamp before you post it?
What?
Just curious.
What?
Was that even intelligible? Could somebody does anybody speak more
that's a good question
in the house?
Hold on. That's a good question, Aiden. And the reason I asked that question is because for the answer, you go and subscribe to Big Bad Mama's channel and see what the next video is that is going to come out.
Peter helps me with my thumbnails, which is nice. But in a couple days, I'm going to release the discussion I had with Oven about the so-called Mokele and Mbembe expedition of 2024.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
They got thousands of dollars of donations. And I asked Hovind, why haven't you seen any videos or photos from that expedition? Oh, am I supposed to check on them? Is that my job? I said, well, you raised donations for them and had them on your show several times. And he got a little bit.
Where did they have, wait, Big Bad Mama, where did they have to go to take the pictures?
The Congo.
The Congo. Is there? Remind me. Is there cell service down there?
Yes.
Well, they claim they're the ones that came back and claimed that they had a lot of video and photography that they had done in that Congo, and they had done interviews with people that had seen the creature. So it doesn't matter.
Didn't Hovind interview them when they came back?
I mean,
BBM, didn't Hovind interview them when they came back?
That's what I'm saying. He interviewed them when they got back, and they said they had all this material.
Yeah.
So that question's moot.
The fact that he said, or rather, the fact that he had them over and did an interview with them clearly shows that he was still expressed interest in the expedition after it was done. So for him to say to Big Bad Mama, oh, am I supposed to check in on them for a very basic question, that being, hey, that thing that you were clearly interested enough to raise money for and do an interview about, have you seen any actual information related to that?
And you know what? I've got a camera that works without cell service.
Dustin, you know what?
Peter, shut the fuck up, dude.
You know what, Dustin?
Honestly.
No, wait. All bullshit aside, Dustin, thank you for conceding the point. And I'm not saying thank you because you conceded. I'm saying thank you because that was very good of you to recognize that.
I'm not unreasonable, Aiden. You know that.
I know, but I'm just trying to point that out for the sake of the panel. I've seen the other side of you, Dustin. I wouldn't have you on these panels if I thought you were just some brute that was incapable of articulating anything. I wouldn't have you here, Dustin.
Thank you, Peter, for asking.
Aiden, obviously, I mean, you need more people to go watch your videos. But Aiden, I have something that will make the entire panel, including Dustin, very happy.
Is Peter a little gangster ghost? I just want clarification.
You know what?
Is Peter the replacement?
I will talk over Dustin because Dustin likes to talk over people and he likes people to emulate his behavior. So I'm going to hop off because it is 6:20 a.m. where I am. So
no,
I
think can't leave,
I have earned the right to get some sleep.
That's fair.
But before I go, Daniel,
yes.
When did you start working for the British Broadcasting Service, and why is it good?
Well, I'm involved with the good BBC, the Burning Bushes channel.
Is that okay? Oh. Thank God, because I thought that meant something else, Daniel.
Other people.
I really thought for a second you really need to reconsider, like the letter choosing.
People have told me.
Yeah. And Daniel streams all the time, by the way, and he's a very good host on his channel. So
it's the BBC coming at you.
I'm going to put in a plug for the Burning Bushes channel.
Thank you. You guys are always welcome. I love to have everybody on, atheists, Catholics, Protestants.
I don't want to yell at you on your channel.
I'd love to come on sometime because I live with 2 women and there are no bushes to burn anymore. That's me.
I would love to come on, but I'd also love to do some debate if you've got anybody over there that does enjoy debate.
Mark, I've got one for you. Mark.
Oh, you do?
I think yes. I recently came across a guy on Twitter who is not the nicest guy on the planet, but I think having a debate between you and him, I think I need to set that up. He's agreed to come on. He's agreed to come on my channel already. I have another one who wants to debate him. But I would really like to see you talk to him as well. I'll shoot you the link to his channel on Discord, and you can check him out.
Yeah, I mean, I've met Greek Orthodox guys before, and my experience of them has not been great. I'm talking about like Jim Bob and Andrew Wilson. So it's really nice to meet you, and you seem very reasonable, very able to have an intelligent discussion. And I don't know if you're aware of them, but it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I know the ortho bro kind of phenomenon, and it's very Western. It's unfortunately some people.
Oh, come on, Daniel. Seriously, you can't
let the man finish.
Well, yeah. So, I think when you're coming into orthodoxy from the Western perspective, you can become overly legalistic. And they sometimes fail to see the grace and the love and the charity that we're supposed to share for each other. And I think they can come off a certain way.
Fair enough. That's very diplomatic.
I just want to say as well, because I'm probably going to be closing the show down pretty soon here. It's pretty late for me anyway as well. I've been doing prep for this debate for the last couple of hours before doing it, and then I've kind of been broadcasting ever since. So
that's
probably, I'm going to shut her down pretty soon here. Thank you, Mark, for making your first ever appearance on this channel.
My pleasure. Thank you.
For sure. Always happy to have you as well as everybody else on the panel over here. Thank you to everybody in the side chat, Claude, Professor Hizzle, Dean, Peter also in the side chat, Josh. Thank you to everybody that was here. Does anybody have any final remarks? B.S. Lewis, of course. Thank you for being here as well.
Oh, B.S. You can't forget him. Thank you, everybody, for watching. It was a fairly good discussion. I'm sorry it got heated a little bit, but hey, sometimes we're passionate about stuff. So thank you, everybody. I really enjoyed being here. It was a pleasure.
I have a last remark, too. I still don't know how Aiden is able to put up with me over talking everyone every single time, even though I didn't even do that this time. But,
I mean, you did a little bit, but
a little bit, not as much as I used.
Not as much. You reined it in a little bit, Peter, and I can appreciate that. I actually have a remarkably, even though I did shout once or twice during the stream, I do have a remarkably high tolerance for that kind of shit. So
and you have worked on your over talking as well.
I mean, it's kind of hard to overtalk more than I used to overtalk. So yeah. With that being said, thank you very much for everybody. It is Dean, who just joined the show, fashionably late as ever, Dean. Do you have anything that you would like to say?
Absolutely. I'm just here to make sure you meet your DEI quota. So you can